In this video, I want to show you a complete mental model that you can use to launch a SaaS business idea from finding a good market to go in, validate an idea within this market, and finally find your first customers. So very quickly, we are going to look at how to find a growing market and what does that mean, research the market and extract the pain points, identify the market opportunities, the market gaps, and more importantly, the three ways to think of actually creating value on top of what's already existing in this growing market or market in demand. Because uh, most markets are saturated. It doesn't mean that there isn't any opportunities anymore. And that's what we are going to see with the different approach that we can see here. Then, once you have an actual idea, how do you transform it and create a sort of marketing MVP that we also can call a smoke test, so you can actually attract users before even you build. Or you can also build and then attract users. That's your choice. And finally, we are looking at the best ways to attract customers that you can partially automate, that are the easiest to start with. Not the only ones, but the easiest to start with. So if that sounds like a good use of your time, then let's go into it right away. And you might wonder why there is a bakery picture right here, and I'm going to get to that in a minute. Okay, so first of all, what do I mean by finding a growing market? And let me show you a screenshot of exploding topics. So just for you to know what I'm talking about, exploding topic is this website that you can access. There is a lot of things for free. It just surfaces topics that people are talking about, a little bit like Google Trend, but Google Trend, you have to go into it and type something, while exploring topics is already showing stuff that is working. This is by no means the only way to find growing markets. Is just a very simple way to understand what's actually a growing market. You first of all, you have the volume here, and then you have the curve. What you want to see ideally is a big volume, and you want kind of a stable curve that is growing or stable over a very long period of time. So, for example, this is something that you always want to be careful. This is something you want to be careful. Here, it's exploding topic is the website, so it's not showing you the good markets that are just stable. It's only showing you the ones that are growing. A stable market is a good market, but that's just for the illustration. So let's say I took this example. So wearable breast pumps. So if you want to build a SaaS, for example, you might wonder, why is that interesting for you? Well, then it's interesting because if that is growing, then what I want to do is to go into Google Trend and check, for example, the breastfeeding market. So what is the demand around the topic of breastfeeding? And I can see that this is an actual healthy market. So it was growing for a few years. Now it's kind of stable. There is a lot of demand in this market. You imagine that it's a market that has a complete set of problems that can be very tough for some people. So there is something to do in it. So what you want to do is to start iterating from this market, and you start understanding, okay, what's already existing and what can I build in it. But we are going to talk about that in a moment. I want to touch upon bakeries. Why bakeries? Hey, just a quick break. This video is actually sponsored by myself, and I want to show you something that might just make your next customer say, finally, that's exactly what I've been looking for. If you're a founder, especially a technical one, you've probably hit this wall. You can build the product, but when it comes to explaining it so people actually want to buy it, you end up guessing. And guessing costs you money, costs you time, and costs you momentum. That's why I've built the voice mining framework. It's not another fluffy branding or guru marketing course. It's a plug and play system that uses AI to mine your market's exact language, their pains, desires, and buying triggers, straight from where they already talk online. Then it turns that research into ready to use landing pages, ads, email, short form script, long form script, whatever marketing assets that you need. Bottom line, you stop writing what you think will work and start using words you know will convert. You can grab it today, run it this afternoon, and have a real data baked messaging before dinner. The link is below. Now let's back to the video. There is this idea that every problems have been solved already. That you can't come up with something new, and that's kind of true because we are really living in a saturated market, saturated world where every time you have an idea, you can check it out and someone has built it already. It's very frustrating, but it doesn't mean that you can't create businesses. And this is a very important point to understand. A saturated market is not a bad market. On the contrary, a saturated market is a good market because if there are businesses, it means there is demand. So this is something you want to explore rather than avoid at all costs to find your own market where there is no one. Because if there is no competitor, then there is no customers. So bakeries, there are 39,000 bakeries in France today. Yeah, I'm talking about bakeries because you get it. I'm French, and we this is a big thing in France. You have them in every single little village. There are bakeries, right? But still, 8 new bakeries are created every single day in France alone, and 7 bakeries are closing every single day. What does that tell you? Is that first of all, it's a growing market. You have more businesses created than businesses that are closing. But the fact that this is a solid and stable business, and look at the curve here, means that people can enter over time and it will continue growing. It doesn't matter the amount of competition within this market. And that's very important to understand because a bakery is a bakery. You have different ways to approach it, but in the end, it delivers bread and just a bunch of other very good stuff. But it's still a bakery. It is still viable to create a bakery in France today because this is a stable and growing market. When you enter this market, you have different ways to operate. You can think of, okay, what is the location that is growing somewhere? I don't know, like a residential area that just started the construction, and you can spot that the demand will grow there. So you can bet on a new location and open a bakery there to serve these people. Or you can also enter an area that is already busy and just try to make a better product. Do your best to deliver the best product to your customer. And you can also go with a better service. You can make sure that the experience is amazing, and so on and so forth. You have different ways to differentiate yourself. So you can simply copy, you can differentiate, and then you can just find a good location. Anyway, it's just to show you that a crowded market doesn't mean you can't enter a market. All right, let's move on to the next step. Research the market and extract the pain points. Um, I have a full video on the Starter Story YouTube channel that I will link in the description that shows you a chain of prompt that you can use from like just exploring a specific market and extracting all the pain points that people have in this market and generate some business ideas with AI from those pain points. So I'm not going to go too deep into that, but the idea is to understand the market to the point that you understand what are the major problems that people are facing within this market. So to go back to the breastfeeding market, a simple prompt, it's just to give you an example, but a simple prompt on ChatGPT would give you like the major pain points. So comfort and pain relief, supply issues, convenience and mobility, sleep schedule disruption, diet, health tracking. So already you can see that you have this stable kind of growing market that is huge and that contains a complete set of problems for itself. And each of these problems can be a bunch of different solutions that can be offered to the customers. So once you have found the pain points, then you want to identify the market opportunity, which means you want to dig into each of these pain points. Again, you can do it with AI, and I will link the video in the description, the videos in the description, so you can see how to do it. But you can also simply search, read forums, and understand what are the major pain points that people are struggling with within this already in-demand market. Once you have them, you want to understand now how are they currently solving those pain points, because it is just not possible that you have a growing market, a major pain point, and no solutions. You will never find that. If there is no solution, dig more, because there is a problem. You missed something, because as we said, every market is saturated. So you will find competitors, and you will see how are they how are they solving this problem. And now it's the moment to identify market gaps. So you have found the market, you have found the pain point, and then you have found the people that are currently solving these problems. And you have different choices that are offered to you. The first one is that you can simply copy what's already existing. And I come from, I started learning marketing with drop shipping back in 2017. And the whole business model was around finding something that is already working with a lot of people running ads and just copying and run ads too. And it worked. It surprisingly worked. It doesn't, it's not because someone I've created a solution for a problem that you can't just copy this solution and run it. It will work. If this is a good solution in a growing market, it will work. You will take a share of the market. So don't shy away of copying in an ethical way, of course. And the best way is still to add value on top. And when you are copying, you can either copy one unique feature. In my last video, I talked a lot about this specific approach. I will link the video in the description as well. Or you can also copy it entirely. It's up to you. Another approach is to differentiate. So how do you differentiate from what's already existing? Then you can choose to address a different audience, which means, for example, if I go back to my breastfeeding, let's say I'm building an app to track the diet while breastfeeding and all the health tracking that comes with it. And I can see that there are like plenty of existing solutions, existing apps. Then I can say, for example, I'm going to make a breastfeeding app specifically for vegan people. And I didn't check. I don't know if there is one existing, probably. But this is just to show you how you can take something that exists, just copy what they do, but adapt it to people that have different constraints because they are vegan. So at this point, you are within differentiation, and you are differentiating by choosing a different audience. You can choose a different marketing channel. For example, if you find out that the leader in the market you are targeting is only running organic content, so they are doing a lot of short form videos, maybe they have some long form videos, and that's how they get their traffic on the app. You can run ads I mean, assuming you are willing to go into it, but it's just to show you you can just go with a different source of traffic, a different marketing channel, or the other way around is true. Or you can just focus on SEO and you create a complete programmatic SEO campaign up to the point that you are getting your traffic only by people reading your blog articles, while every other competitor is doing ads or is doing short form videos or whatever they are doing. You choose your own marketing channel, and that's how you differentiate. So in this case, you can literally copy something and then go with a different marketing channel. Or, and I think this one is probably the smartest one, is to choose a different business model. What am talking about by different business model is how do you extract value from a user? Basically, there are plenty of different ways, and especially in the SaaS world, it's always about subscription, which is a good business model, but there is a lot of downside over it. Like people are tired to have thousands and thousands of subscriptions. So let's imagine again. Let's take our example of breastfeeding, and let's say uh, we want to build in this specific space. We found out there is an opportunity, so why not reaching out to all the big brands within the diet, the nutrition industry that support breastfeeding, and to make the app free, but make affiliate deals with every brand. So the app will be free, but then the monetization would be made through recommendation of product people can use. So this way, you are literally offering something free, but you are making money on the back end by getting a piece of the cake of the actual nutrition. That's just an example, and I'm also planning on making a video about all the different business models that you can combine in order to create your own. I think you got the point. It's like, how do you reverse the situation and extract value in a different way? And now you can also innovate. And I will tell it straight. I think this is the hardest part. And unfortunately, it's probably the one that most of entrepreneurs are going into at first, because it always feels that to succeed, you need to create something that didn't exist before. And that's not true. And that's why I showed you the bakery before, because this is a good example of, no, you don't need to reinvent the wheel. You can just you are better off doing those two rather than innovate. And especially if it's your first business. For uh, serial entrepreneurs, yes, they have funding, they have support network, they can take a bigger risk. But this innovate here is a bigger risk. There is a bigger reward for sure, but there is a way bigger risk, and you can end up spending a lot of time for something that you could have avoided. By using those, it's just logic. It's just logic. You have a growing market. You found the pain points. You understand that there are already solutions for them. You can see how are the competitors doing, how much traffic do they have, how successful they are. So when you understand that, you are going into a good market. Then you identify, how can I take what already exists and then add my value on top, or just simply, as I said, copy it. This is just logic. It will work if it's just a matter of execution when you do that. While when you innovate, it's not a matter of execution anymore. It's a matter of, did you pick the right idea? And that's a complete different problem. All right, let's move on. So assuming we want to differentiate, and let's say we take the example of our breastfeeding app for vegan. So it's not a different business model, actually, it's this one. So now you have the market you are operating in, you have the problem you are solving, and you have the audience that you are addressing. So this is when you want to do a deep customer research that is specifically addressed to the audience. And I have a full video on how to use AI to do that and to use AI to build what I call a master prompt that is going to uh, give you something that you can reuse again and again to create all your marketing assets, including the smoke test that we are going to see, including landing pages, emails, ads, short form videos, long form videos, whatever. I will link this video in the description for you to check out. Before we go into the smoke test, there is another thing that happens at the same moment. So this is the moment where you start thinking of the product, and not before, only now, because you know that you are not wasting your time uh, digging technically into the possibility of building this product. Uh, you're only doing it after you make sure that this is a validated idea, that this is a valid opportunity. So you want to do the operational validation, which means you want to make sure you can build the product. So if there are some bottlenecks you are not sure you can do, then this is the moment you can go and check out to make sure you will be able to deliver in the end. Most of the time you can. It's just like you also want to make sure that it's always possible to deliver, but you want to make sure it is in your that you have the means to do it. If it's not too time consuming, if it doesn't require some technology you don't have access to, or you need to learn, it will take too long. You want to make sure you are going into something that you're not drawing in. And then, if you want, while you are doing the deep customer research, you can start building it. And in my previous frameworks on how to start a business, the building came after the launch. Um, but meanwhile, something very important changed is the ability we have to create products in a way that is extremely fast. So it is not impossible to actually build an MVP in 2 or 3 days. So you can do your smoke test with an actual MVP at some point if you want. So yeah, you can, but you don't have to build at the same moment. Okay, now let's go back onto the smoke test. And I quickly want to show you how it looks, and I will have a complete video dedicated to it. Uh, the idea of the smoke test, very quickly, is to create um, a MVP, a marketing MVP, that is bringing, that you will send traffic to on a landing page that will show the product as if it would exist already. So when people land on this landing page, they really think the product exists. And on this landing page, you have a call to action that explain people what's the next step. And when they click on it, they are shown a pop-up, or first of all, they are led to a quiz or survey, you can call it the way you want, basically a way to ask them questions. The first thing you want to do is to explain why they are going to answer questions. So it's simple. It's, hey, thank you for being here and for your interest. The app that you want to see is not there yet. It's in the building. Meanwhile, could you take 1 minute to answer a few questions so we are sure that we are making the app that fits to your needs? Most of the time, you'll be surprised how often people are okay to just answer a few questions. And that's where you start gathering data. So first of all is you want to know who they are. Then you want to understand what bothers them. And then you want to use a painful scale, a pain scale, or I don't remember how I called it. But basically, you want to ask from a scale of 1 to 10, how painful is this specific problem in your life? And that's amazing, because when you start gathering data, and now you can see right away if it's something that is extremely painful, that is a good business idea. If you are here, if you are like at 9 out of 10, then this is a very painful problem. And you know that if you come up with a solution, it will work because people really want to solve it. You want to ask them if they already tried something else, and if so, what? Do they have a solution in mind? Like, how would they see the app working, for example? And then you can ask them, okay, cool. Now that, and thank you for answering these questions. Would you like me to tell you when we are launching? Most of people at this point would say, yes, sure. Next question. Okay, can you give me your email address and I will make sure that you are informed as soon as we launch. And then you start gathering people on your waiting list, basically. But you didn't only get people on your waiting list, you learned a lot along the way, which is the most important thing. And wait, that's the better part here, is that depending on the different questions, so who are they? And for example, the scale, let's assume I'm making up an example here, but let's assume that in the thing I wanted to really understand, the people I really wanted to target for my breastfeeding vegan app was first time, first child vegan people. So who are they? And maybe, I can add a question about, is it your first child? And how painful it is. So at this point, I can have the people seeing an invitation for a quick call, but it will only be shown to the people that have their first child and for which the pain of really knowing what they should eat is higher than 8. So at this point, I will have a bunch of calls showing up on my calendar because, or at least a list of people that I can try to call myself that have accepted to give me a little bit of their time for me to really understand the pain they have and how I can solve them. And it's not like I am having hundreds of unqualified ones. I'm only having the ones that I chose because in the way that I'm building this quiz, then I'm only showing it to the people I want to talk to. So this is another way of validating and talking to customers by doing a smoke test is like we show them something that is exactly as if it would exist. So we already understand if they would click on something like that. Then we ask them questions and we see how painful this problem is for them. We put them on the waiting list and we ask only the most important ones if they are willing to get on a conversation, to have a conversation about their specific pain points. And that's how you start learning more and more about the people you are going to serve with your product. Okay, so that's it for the smoke test. I think you got it by now. You basically gather information, validate demand here. At the same time, you make sure you can build the product and maybe you build it. And once you have enough people in your waiting list, it's just up to you how long you want to wait, or just validating if you have a dozen would be enough. You can simply launch right away. But at this point, when you launch, you know that you have a product that would work. But there is another question. The question that is probably the most important is it's good to have to create this mock test, but how do I bring people onto it? Like, how do I acquire traffic if I start from nothing? If I don't have an audience, how do I do it? So there are a few ways, like actually a bunch of ways, but I didn't list them all here. I just listed the ones that are the most suited to, let's say, first time entrepreneur that is on its own and wants to make it fast, wants to attract traffic fast, quote unquote, depends. So I will talk about paid ads just later on. But we have outbound traffic and inbound traffic. So the difference is outbound traffic, you are going to reach out to someone, and it could be via cold email, works for B2B, or could be via cold DMs. It works for B2B as well. Cold DMs, like reaching out to people on LinkedIn, Twitter, or on different communities. And it's just like engaging conversations and gathering people on your app. For a B2C app, outbound is quite tough. You probably also have Reddit could be considered as one, although it's a little bit different. Reddit is more like it's it's a sensible, it's a sort of social setting. You want to enter a conversation on different forums, community. You can do that on school. You can do that on everywhere people hang out. You can engage conversation and lead them as the next step to your product. But you need to deliver value. You probably know what I'm talking about at this point. But let's say outbound is more for B2B apps. But then you have inbound. So basically, the idea is that you reverse it. It's not, you are not reaching out to people. You are putting yourself out there, and then people reach out to you. And you have the main ways nowadays to do it are short form writing. Think of LinkedIn, Twitter, even Instagram could be considered as short form writing, although there isn't only writing involved. Short form videos, probably the best organic way to attract traffic. And it goes with YouTube Short, it goes with Instagram, TikTok, and also LinkedIn and Twitter introduced more and more video. So if you're able to create videos, then this is a very good way to attract traffic, especially because of the algorithm, the way it works now. Um, it will pick up only the things that people are reacting to. So you can literally transform your short form video production into a sort of lab and testing different messages, different uh, approaches, and see what resonates with people. And in this way, you can learn a lot about the people that are coming to your product, basically. Then you have YouTube. YouTube, I'm talking more about the long form here. It's a little bit longer, although it is a very valuable way that is completely underrated, and I think most people overthink YouTube. I did for a very long time, so I know what I'm talking about. It's not that hard. It doesn't require a fancy setting. It just requires like you talking, showing your screen loom. You don't even have to have like your face on it. You can just show things, and you will find people, and if it's relevant, then um, people will click on your links, and you start gathering people traffic on your smoke test, basically. Then you have SEO. SEO is probably it's not the one I'm doing the most and I'm the most comfortable with, and especially these days. SEO is changing a lot with the AI search, although it's not changing that much, because what is going to change is the fact that the traffic is not coming from Google, but the traffic has to come. The traffic exists. So the more SEO means it's not only for Google, it's how you create content on the internet and link all of that together. So every search engine will find it and give it to the people that is looking for it. So of course, YouTube is also having an SEO part that you should use. Not only, but a big part of YouTube is SEO. And this is still a valuable way to acquire traffic. It is just longer. But you can also automate a big part of it with programmatic SEO, AI. Could be dangerous, but you can do it. And finally, paid ads. So paid ads is literally my favorite, because then you can create a scientific approach. And believe me, I have a video where I talk about it that I'm also going to link in the description. But people always think this is cheaper, but never consider the time that it takes to create this, and the cost of opportunity, because the time that you are working on that, you are not working on making a better product, talking with potential users, potential customers, um, or simply like finding out that it didn't work and move on to the next one. So there is a very high cost in terms of time and cost of opportunity by doing only organic, thinking that you are saving money. Ads, on the other way, ads are a way it's a skill that once you learn it once, then you can reuse it again and again. And for each product you want to set up, you can have a complete process where you would say, okay, I'm going to spend, I don't know, $200-300, make 20 different ads, run them all, and see what's going on. And you will learn so much, and you will attract traffic for sure in a scientific way. What I mean by that is you will target different pain points. So you will see who are the people from which pain points they are coming to your smoke test. And you will see that in a regular way. As opposite as, for example, if you do short form video, you can also target different pain points, but you will never see. Maybe one of them will be taken off by the algorithm, but you can't control that. With paid ads, you can say you can tell exactly how much budget are you spending per marketing angle, per pain point, so you can see which one of them is converting the best on your smoke test. So now you have a complete picture of what should I talk about here to bring the right people so they go into my waiting list and become a potential user. You know exactly where it's starting. And you can basically only do that with ads. Um, you can partially do that with organic, but the best way is definitely to run ads. It's just a set of skills that is probably way simpler than you think to learn. Um, but then you can reuse it for every product that you are building. All right, so let's recap what we have seen so far. What you want at the beginning is always to find a growing market or a stable market where there is demand. Within this market, you want to understand what are the major pain points that people are struggling with, which gives you a list of potential opportunities that you will understand more by researching the competitors that are already solving those pain points in this in-demand market. Once you have this list of competitor, then you have a choice that is offered to you. You can either copy exactly what they are doing and just don't overthink it. Valuable option. Keep it ethical though, as much as possible, of course, but it's possible. You can differentiate by, for example, having a different audience, a different marketing channel, a different business model, or you can choose to innovate, which is the most dangerous, quote unquote, but could be also the most rewarding. It's not the one I would advise for, especially for first-time founders. Once you have found a way to um, generate value, and you can say at this point this is a validated idea because it has a growing market and there are competitors, and you will create something with more value in it, then you will conduct a deep customer research, because at this point you really know exactly what you're looking for. So you want to understand the customer as much as possible. At the same time, you are conducting an operational validation by just making sure that you can build the product. And if you want to go into building, it's a little bit early, but at least it's better than building right here, if you know what I mean. So you can also build it because we build very fast. Now you have your master prompt. Again, link in the description to find out how to build a master prompt. And you can use that to create your smoke test landing page, which will gather a lot of information about your potential customers and put them on the waiting list. And you attract people on this mock test with, you just have to pick one way, especially you don't need to do them all, right? I would always recommend you to go for paid ads because I think it's a completely underrated skill. But otherwise, you can also fairly go with inbound if you are in B2C and outbound if you are in B2B. You can segment it this way. It's way easier to understand. And once you have gathered enough information, then that's the moment you want to launch. And that's it for this video. I hope it wasn't too theoretical. I wanted to kind of create a complete package of the idea of how to go about it. And I show way more in the trenches or examples, things in my other videos. Again, link in the description. And for the next step, if you are currently at this point, if you are looking for an idea and you don't know how to validate an idea, then you can watch one of these two videos that I'm putting on the screen right now. And if you are more at this step, which means you already have an idea, but you don't know how to get people into it and generate the marketing for it, then I'm going to put the other video. So you have two choices. It depends on where you are at the moment. And I see you on the other side. Bye bye.